big debate, as it has been portrayed, as it has been advertised, the big debate. We're going to discuss the proof, whether there is proof, does God exist? That is the topic of discussion today. I apologise for the late start. It unfortunately was due to an overlap in booking. That's what we've been told, an overlap in bookings of this room, so therefore we weren't able to set the chairs up as we wanted to. We've invited two speakers with us, Miss Khaw and Mr. Hassan Choudhury. Both are going to be given some time, maybe about 12 minutes thereabouts, to present a case for and against, starting with Hassan. And then Claire will present her case. And then there will be a chance for Hassan to rebut, come up with a reply for a few minutes, no more than 3 minutes. And then there will be a chance finally for Claire to make her comments based on what Hassan has said for another 3 minutes. And then after that, we want to have questions. And I do emphasise the word questions. I want there to be questions from the floor, not speeches. We invite two speakers, not 200. Okay? So the idea is, if you have a comment, of course, if your question requires you to make a brief, leading up to it, I don't mind. No more than about 20, 30 seconds. But that way we get a chance for everybody to have, or as many people as possible, to have their say. And the other thing I really would like to emphasise is that this, by its very nature, can be quite an emotive topic. And I would like you to restrain your emotions as much as possible today. This discussion is about thinking, about ideas, about hearing each other's arguments, about replying to others' arguments. Arguments are not normally won by who's got the loudest voices or who can shout the most. So I'm asking you, please, restrain the emotions, keep it calm today. Okay? So that everybody gets a chance to hear each of the arguments to and from, and then you make up your own decisions at the end. So without any more delays, because we've got around an hour and a half now, without any more delays, I'm going to invite this first speaker to speak for 12 minutes on the topic of does God exist?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. And my warmest greetings to everyone here. I'd like to begin by saying that atheists, when they deny God, are actually saying two things. The two things are, the universe came into existence by itself. It doesn't need anything to come into existence. So the first part, they're saying, there's no need for a cause, there's no reliance. Second thing is they're saying is that the universe has existed forever. Those are the two things that they're saying when they say there's no God. So, in order to prove them wrong, to prove a God, to prove a creator, we need to be able to prove that the universe and everything within the universe needed other things to come into existence. They didn't come into existence by themselves. The second thing is that the universe hasn't always existed. And I'll tell you why. If we're able to prove the universe didn't come into existence by itself, and it had a beginning, this is the proof of creation. And creation equals a creator. And this is why the atheists will always try and block you on one of those two or both. They will say to you, the universe doesn't need anything to come into existence, and it has existed forever. Those are the two primary arguments that I'm going to try and break today. So, how do I break the first one? That the universe and the things in the universe needed something else to come into existence. Well, let me explain what I mean by need. Everything in the universe has a weakness. It has a limit. It has a start. It has an end. It has a maximum amount it can reach. It has an edge. It has things it can't do. It relies on things, it depends on things, it is limited, it is dependent. Everything in the universe is like this. And maybe we'll explore this as we go on. But it's the need part that we want to discuss. If everything has a need, it cannot have come into existence before the thing it needs. So let me explain. Human beings, we need oxygen, right? Human beings need oxygen. Can a human being come into existence if there's no oxygen first? Can't happen. So because that thing, the human being, needs something to exist, it cannot come into existence by itself. It depends upon the existence of the thing before. So to really make this clear for you, let me use the example of the plastic bottle of water that they've kindly presented to me. Can this bottle come into existence by itself? Now the easiest way to say we can't is because the bottle requires plastic. And the bottle cannot exist before plastic exists. Makes sense? Can plastic come into existence by itself? No, because plastic comes from oil. Can oil come into existence by itself? No, because oil is a fossil fuel and it requires the earth to squash all of the ancient animal and plant material. Do you see what I'm saying here? Things cannot come into existence before things they need. And if every single thing in this universe needs something, then it cannot have come into existence until the thing it needs. Just like I said about the human being and the oxygen. Human being cannot come into existence before oxygen. Straight. Can a fish come into existence before water? No, so the fish didn't come here by itself. That's all we're saying. And every single thing in this universe, everything, has a limit, has a weakness, has a start, an end, an edge, it has something it cannot do. It has a limit, it has a need. And that means it needs something before it. And that is something that the atheists don't want to accept. Because that means that the universe didn't come into existence by itself. The things in the universe didn't come into existence by themselves because they needed something before them. And they will argue with you. So what they'll say to you is, don't worry, think about the chair you're sitting on. Think about the chairs you're sitting on. That chair, did it get there by itself? No, because the chair needed metal. Did metal get there by itself? No, because it needed the earth. Over and over and over, we can build a chain of needs, a chain of dependencies going backwards. So this is what the atheists will say. That's okay, you proved your first point, that things in the universe need things. No problems. But who says that that chain of needs can't go back forever? That chain of needs can't go back forever without a beginning. So, the chair, which needs metal, which needs the earth, which needs the sun, which needs a nebula, which needs a supernova, all the way back into infinity. That's their argument. They say maybe the universe has always existed. So, let me explain why it doesn't make sense. If the universe has always existed up until now, if the universe has existed for an infinite, endless, eternal amount of time until now, then we are at the end of an endless series of events. We are at the end of eternity. We are at the end of an endless chain. Can you be at the end of an endless chain? You can't be. The universe hasn't always existed. To make it very clear for you, just say you're in the petrol station. One cashier. One person ahead of you in the queue, you have to wait for one person to get served. 3 people ahead of you in the queue, you have to wait for 3 people to get served. An infinite, endless number of people ahead of you in the queue, you will never be served. You will never be at the end of an endless chain. You can't be at the end of an endless chain. So we cannot be at the end of an endless chain of time. The universe hasn't always existed. So, what have I done? I've only given you 2 arguments. But what I've done is I've said to you, things do not come into existence by themselves. They need things before them. Everything needs something before it. And that chain can't go on forever. So therefore, the things in the universe need something to make it. Because there was a beginning and they needed something. But then you might ask, okay, that's the things in the universe. What about the universe itself? Well, what is the universe? The universe is simply the collection of all the things in the universe. The atoms, the stars, the matter, and the laws, the rules, the principles. So if the things in the universe are all limited and needy, then the universe itself is limited and needy. could not have come into existence by itself and had a beginning. Something that couldn't come into existence by itself and had a beginning is created. Something that couldn't come into existence by itself and had a beginning needs a creator. Creation equals a creator. Now you're probably thinking, that sounds pretty easy. How are they going to try and fight this? Well, before I tell you how they're going to fight it, I'd just like to tell you why they're going to fight it. The idea of believing in a God scares some people. It scares them because it opens the idea that they might have to live by rules that they didn't set. They'll have to live by ideas of right and wrong that they didn't come up with. They're no longer free. And that scares them. Other people, it liberates them. It makes them feel secure, knowing that they have something greater than them guiding them. But that's why. How will they attack? The two main arguments they'll use, usually, I'm not saying that this is going to be what you hear tonight, usually come down to two things. One of them is, why don't you tell us about the Creator? Why don't you tell us what He can do, what He can't do? How many of them there are? Who created it? And the counter to this is very simple. All we're saying is, the universe is limited, the universe is dependent, the universe is weak, the universe is in need of something to create it. The universe had a beginning. So, whatever created the universe is unlike the universe. Whatever created the universe had to exist in order to make the universe and make the rules, like space and time, and gravity, and up, down, left, right, dimensions. So therefore, whatever created this universe cannot be controlled by the laws that it's made for the universe. So how do we even know that outside of this universe, before this universe, there's even an idea of creation? We don't. It is irrational to try to think about the Creator. All we can do is look and examine at the guidance that people say comes from the Creator and see if it should be befitting the Almighty, the one who is different to the limited, needy universe, because this, which is the opposite of limited, is unlimited. The opposite of dependent is independent. And this is what we call the Creator, Al-Khaliq, Allah, God. So, I would like to give you the second thing. Second thing. So the first of them is that they're going to try and make you think about what's outside the Creator. The other one is they'll talk about moral arguments. Oh, maybe God is bad. Maybe God, because He has volcanoes that wipe out villages, maybe it's bad. Maybe that's why it doesn't exist. Well, I tell you, we don't like things in this world, in our lives. There's things we don't like, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. So I'm going to ask one point that you've got to think about for this whole evening. If the other side can prove that this universe has no needs, existed forever, I give up, I quit. But this universe has needs, had a beginning, and unless they deal with that, they cannot disprove a God. We've proved a God, and that's all you need to think about tonight. Has this universe got needs? Could it have come into existence by itself? And the other thing is, does it have a beginning? And that's what I'm going to present to the other side, and I hope that they'll address it.